2019, and here's my hands-on first impressions of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, I have to do a bit of a caveat because I've never actually played a Final Fantasy game before. I know, it's one of the most beloved franchises in video game history, and especially this game, and there was a lot of people that were really excited at E3 to be able to play this game, but to be able to see this game, and the fact that there was a not only a gameplay demo that was shown in the Square Enix presentation, but that we have a release date of next year, but then also that there was a gameplay demo you can play on the show floor. That was actually a really cool thing that I did not expect to be able to see. And I am very actually happy to be able to say that now officially my first official Final Fantasy game was Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I'm going to talk about sort of my impressions of it, and also a little bit of the accessibility that I was kind of able to gather during the quick demo that I was able to play. So they had like this sort of activation there on the E3 show floor, where you get to see a little bit of you get brought into this sort of brick-walled room, and you get to sort of see this cool sort of onboarding like tutorial of what buttons to be able to push, and what sort of the tactics that you can be able to get through in Final Fantasy. You could be able to go through the entire sort of like game without having to use really any spells, but I wouldn't recommend it because essentially it's part of your tactics and you can do some much more powerful damage. However, if you're really more interested in kind of an action-packed, like without any turn-based sort of action style, then this game is definitely the game for you for sure. Now, I don't have anything to compare this game with other than just from what I've played of different games in the past. So I'm only going to kind of give my impressions of it, and I apologize if I missed something that you liked about the franchise and you wanted to know the differences or the similarities between the original and this one. What I really liked actually about it was just how smooth that demo was. There was no hiccups. There was no frames dropped as I could be able to see. It was pretty well made. It was really easy to be able to pick up and play. Now, as far as accessibility wise, I did find that the text was a little bit too small. You can kind of see in sort of the bottom corners here that essentially the text is that's kind of the size of the HUD that you're kind of playing with. So there's a lot of times that I was actually having to be able to look down in the bottom corners just to be able to see what I needed to do next. And anything in regards to the tutorial of how to be able to play, it wasn't that bad, but essentially it would kind of come in from the side screen and you had to sort of read what was there to be able to move forward. However, if you needed to, you can really hit one button, be able to kind of get past it, and it was pretty simple. Even if that interrupts your gameplay and you can't see it at all, you can sort of just bypass it and just kind of learn as you go. What I really liked about it that was sort of, like I said before, accidental accessibility was when you're fighting against sort of this big giant scorpion. This is actually the demo that you got to go through. You get to sort of fight some mini sort of minions as you go, lead up to this, but this is the main crux of the demo itself, was fighting this this big scorpion dude. I don't remember its name, whatever. Anyway, what I really liked about it was that, yes, I could sort of go in either guns blazing or like sword slashing if I wanted to, but what I found was amazing was when you go into tactics mode, it slows down time, as you can kind of see a little bit here, and allows you time to be able to pick and choose your abilities and your spells, which was really neat. And by just hitting the X button, that's all you had to do. There's no push and hold, which is amazing. It's just basically just push X. There's actually many times I would actually push X and thinking it was a hold, and it wasn't, and actually would sort of jump into like two menus further in, and I was like, oh shoot, okay, but you can still go back and kind of choose which spells or abilities you want to be able to use. I used that pretty much the majority of the time that I played. I've rarely kind of used a lot of sort of like the kind of fast-paced action. The switching between the characters was smooth. It was, I never really kind of lost balance or lost where I was, or just kind of lost visual of what I was doing. It was very easy just to kind of, it's basically up and down on your D-pad, and just would switch back and forth very easily from each character, and it was actually kind of neat. I really kind of enjoyed that, just how smooth this demo was, and because I was sort of able to take my time in sort of tactics mode to be able to kind of choose what my sort of strategy will be next, it sort of was able for me to kind of slow down, and I didn't have to worry about like eye-hand coordination. I didn't really have to worry about sort of having to be able to get past this sort of like just really fast pace sort of style, and it was really neat. Subtitles as well for accessibility was great. I saw that the font was actually really large, and it had a bit of a shadow in behind it, so it had a little bit of a contrast when compared to the background. Found it a little bit difficult to see in certain areas, but it was still large enough for me to be able to at least make out the words and be able to know what was read. They also do have speaker tags, so you know exactly who is speaking and at what point. The sound effects for each individual attack or each enemy's attack was a little bit harder to distinguish. I think maybe over time I can be able to sort of pick out, okay, this is this attack, this is this spell, so that you can, and you have a little bit of menu memorization for those with low or no vision. You can be able to figure out exactly where what to be able to hit next. The only thing that might be a little bit difficult would be if you were fighting multiple enemies and choosing which enemy to be able to choose to use your attack, your abilities or spells on, because you can be able to, at a certain point within this demo, you actually could be able to attack sort of the main scorpion itself, or hit the left and right leg, or right leg, however you see fit. So essentially my strategy for that was I had Barrett sort of hitting the left leg, and then Cloud would sort of hit the right leg, and then we just keep attacking it, and then I would switch back and forth between the two, and then essentially it got down to the point where I could be able to get past the core. I was actually very happy to be able to get past this demo. This was something that I was very jazzed about, that I was actually able to complete this, and it seemed like other people were able to as well. I wasn't the only one. There was a lot of people who were able to beat it, but to me that was kind of a cool accomplishment that I was able to get through. I did talk to one of the developers that was there, and it just sort of was doing QA on the here in North America for Square Enix, and it unfortunately, I wasn't able to find out sort of what other accessibility options were there, because the demo that they shipped didn't have any accessibility options turned on. It just sort of was, this is what they were sent. And also as well, I didn't really get a chance to be able to kind of find out anything more about what other accessibility features were planned. But I would say stay tuned for that. If I can be able to find out more, I will let you know. What I have been told though is that because it's a Japanese developer, they're a little bit reluctant to speak with someone outside of Japan to be able to help with the consulting. So me being able to consult with Final Fantasy VII to be able to make it a little bit more accessible, probably not going to happen, but you never know. It'd be a cool job to have, to be able to say I worked on Final Fantasy VII. Still, that'd be awesome. Anyway, that's it for my first hands-on impressions. If you have any questions or comments that I wasn't able to get to, that I might be able to answer, or that is something I forgot to talk about, let me know in the comments down below. You can also be able to check out my other first impressions of the games that I played or got to see at E3 2019. You'll be able to check out the playlist that's on the screen in the info section. I can't remember wherever it is. Anyway, I've done a little bit of little first impressions of the behind closed doors demos of Cyberpunk 2077, Watch Dogs Legion. I also got to check out and play Pokemon Sword and Shield and Link's Awakening, and so check those out. Would really appreciate it. And yeah, E3 was awesome, y'all. Final Fantasy VII, great game.